What's up, fight fans? This is Counterpunch with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning David Haye. David Haye says that Oleksandr Usyk does not have my punching power to become heavyweight champion. Look, I've heard David Haye somewhat criticize and make his statements about Usyk and Chisora. I've heard him predict Wilder Fury. But lately, since the upcoming fight between Usyk and Chisora is the one near, and he's also the manager of Derek Chisora, you should say, well, it's just David Haye being David Haye because his fighter is involved, and of course he's rooting for his fighter. But something tells me that David Haye is on some haterade when it comes to Oleksandr Usyk, because he hasn't yet said anything positive about Oleksandr Usyk. Okay? And that's what I want to talk to you guys about. You know, first he said, Usyk's in trouble from taking on Derek Chisora. I think that Usyk could beat Joshua, or how did he put it? He says that Chisora will give Usyk more problems than Anthony Joshua would. And now he's saying that Oleksandr doesn't have my punching power to become heavyweight champion. First of all, it's not about really your punching power, because what did you do to Bellew with your punching power? I understand that he was injured, okay, but, did lightning strike twice? Because he was beaten twice by Bellew, and that was, both fights were an upset, because no one had Bellew beating David Haye. All right? Now, I'm going to get back to that. One thing I noticed about David Haye, he's a manager now. He was a unified cruiserweight champion, and he was the WBA heavyweight champion of the world. And him, along with Evander Holyfield, were the only people, along with another name, I forget the other fighter that was able to do that, were the only guys that were able to unify the cruiserweight division and go up and get them a title in the heavyweight division. Okay, so they share that in common. Okay, now David Haye's retired, and he sees a guy that did something that he did not do. Okay, yes, he was unified cruiserweight champion, but he was never undisputed. There was only one undisputed champion, and that was Oleksandr Usyk. I think a lot of times these fighters, when they retire, they know that their time is up. Okay, they know that they're really critical or overcritical of certain fighters, especially when those fighters has already done something greater than they have. They've excelled past their accomplishments when they were fighting. And I think that's what's happening with David Haye concerning Oleksandr Usyk. Okay, because he's not only unified, he's undisputed. He becomes the number one at the WBO rank, so he's up to fight Joshua. He's fighting Chisora, right? And Chisora is a rough and rugged real fighter. Okay, and of course David Haye would want Oleksandr Usyk to lose. Why? Because he has vested interest. Just like Bernard Hopkins. Remember when Bernard Hopkins had vested interest in Triple G not getting those 23 or 22 or 23 title defenses, right? And because he was tied. Golovkin and Bernard were tied. But Bernard Hopkins is a guy that he knew and he admitted, like, I do not want him to break my record, right? Just like David Haye does not want Oleksandr Usyk to get to the heavyweight division, to exceed in the heavyweight division, doing something that he's done. Okay? So now, not only does Usyk, if Usyk's able to get a strap, okay? If he's able to get a strap in the heavyweight division, he's done something, not only what David Haye and Evander Holyfield done, and by the way, Usyk admires Evander Holyfield, but he would also been able to do more because he was able to be the first undisputed cruiserweight champion on top of being a heavyweight champion that exceeds David Haye, okay, and his accomplishments. And and a lot of people, they compete and they use other people as weapons to satisfy victories, moral victories in a sense. Let me give you another example. Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya fought Floyd Mayweather, right? And it was a split decision loss. Yes, it ended shitty for De La Hoya because he kind of joins that boat with Klitschko and Fury in that situation because he never got the opportunity to fight, Mayweather again. And I know he's been jaded about that ever since. So what he's done, he's been trying to be vicariously live through certain fighters, Victor Ortiz, Canelo, other fighters, and those guys went back and forth because they were competing. Even though Oscar De La Hoya doesn't fight anymore, that did not stop him from throwing shade on Mayweather any chance he got. I think that's what's happening with David Haye. Okay, now to drop the mic on you guys on the number one reason why I think David Haye, to add the cherry on top, is because David Haye, think about it. How did David Haye retire? What forced David Haye into retirement? His loss. Who did he lose to? Tony Bellew. Who did Tony Bellew lose to? Oleksandr Usyk. You see what I'm saying? So I think that David Haye knows this guy beats the guy that retired me. Now this guy is fighting a fighter that I not only manage, but a guy that hopefully can take the glory away from the guy that already exceeded past my expectations and my accomplishments, on top of beating the guy that made me retire. You see where I'm going with this? So that's why I think David Haye is on that haterade. He's trying to compete, and he's real critical of Oleksandr Usyk because I know that he's somewhat envious in a sense, okay, because he wants something that Usyk has, but he won't be able to do it because he's past his prime. He's retired. He's a guy that was beat by a guy that moved up to get beat by the guy that now, you know what I mean? So to Oleksandr Usyk, to David Haye, Oleksandr Usyk is somewhat of a lineal guy because he's the guy that beat the guy, right? And he knocked him out. Okay, so I think that's what David Haye's doing. I think he doesn't like. I think he has like some sort of secret grudge against Oleksandr Usyk, talking about the man's punching power. Obviously, the man has other attributes besides punching power. It wasn't his punching power that knocked out Tony Bellew. It was along with his punching power and his skill set. Okay? But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about David Haye, saying Usyk doesn't have his punching power to become heavyweight champion. And does he have that? Did Holyfield have that? Getting back on this subject, did Holyfield have that superior punching power? No. But he kicked a lot of ass at heavyweight. Okay, in the heavyweight division, he did his deal. He was a warrior. So if he can do that and he's tough, and Oleksandr Usyk is just as tough as Evander Holyfield, he can do the same things, if not better. But anyway, that's my counterpunch on that. You guys tell me what you think of David Haye's comments towards Oleksandr Usyk. Is he hating or is he just participating? Is he complaining or is he just explaining? You guys tell me. Of course, please subscribe. You guys been counterpunching. Peace.